One thing that's very clear from basic science studies and clinical trials is that there are essentially 5 pillars of health. These 5 pillars of health are things that we ought to do every single 24 hours, or at least strive to, if we want our mental health, physical health, and performance to thrive. They are, first, the need to get quality amounts of sufficient sleep every 24 hours. Second, to get light in our eyes, ideally from sunlight, especially early in the day, and to avoid light exposure to our eyes, especially bright light exposure to our eyes, between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. We know that doing those two things, getting sunlight in our eyes early in the day and avoiding bright artificial lights between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m., assists in creating all of the right neurochemicals and hormones that we want for mood, focus, and alertness during the daytime and optimal sleep at night. The third pillar of mental health, physical health, and performance is movement. Movement, often referred to as exercise, includes our requirement for cardiovascular movement, so things that generate elevations in heart rate, such as swimming, cycling, running, anything that gets our heart rate up for some period of time longer than 12 minutes or so. And of course, this can extend hours for those of you that are into endurance training, but we all need cardiovascular exercise. It turns out we all also need resistance training. So this is true whether or not you are male, female, young or old. You should be doing some exercise that involves resistance against your muscles and musculoskeletal system. This isn't just important for your muscles, it's important for your nervous system and for longevity of your brain. This includes things like free weight exercises, body weight exercises, bands, and machines. So a combination of cardiovascular training and resistance training is also critical for mental health, physical health, and performance, not just in the short term, not just to feel good, not just to perform well, but for our longevity, for how long we are going to live. The fourth pillar of mental health, physical health, and performance that we need to tend to every 24 hours is getting quality nutrients in sufficient amounts. Now, nutrients include proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, the so-called macronutrients, but it also includes micronutrients, such as the things that support our gut microbiome. Our gut microbiome is a very important aspect of our biology. These are trillions of little microbiota, little bacteria that live in our gut and that support the production of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, and that actually regulate connections between the brain and the gut in both directions, that regulate things like our food cravings, our mood, our immune system, and much more. The fifth category or pillar of mental health, physical health, and performance is relationships and connection. When we talk about relationships and connection, most people think of romantic relationships or friendships or family relationships, and it certainly includes all of those categories. All of those are critical. However, it also includes our relationships to ourselves, how good we feel about ourselves, how relaxed or stressed we happen to feel. We know that we need to tend to our relationships, including relationships to ourselves, and that we need to do that in a focused way every 24 hours. Even if we're an introvert and we don't want to spend time with people, we need to think about our relationship to ourselves. So those are the 5 pillars or foundations of mental health, physical health, and performance. Again, just to recap, it's getting quality and sufficient amounts of sleep every 24 hours. It's getting sunlight in our eyes, especially early in the day, even if through cloud cover. And I should mention, especially on those cloudy days, you need to get outside and get sunlight in your eyes without wearing sunglasses for some period of time to set your circadian rhythm and improve your mood and alertness and improve your sleep. The third category is our requirement for exercise and movement of both the cardiovascular and resistance training kind. People really should be doing one or the other for a total of 5 to 7 times per week. That's what the data tell us. And the fourth pillar, critical to mental health, physical health, and performance, that we need to check off every 24 hours is nutrients, which includes the macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, as well as micronutrients for our gut, and other things that provide vitamins and minerals, some of which can be derived from food, but there are many micronutrients that simply cannot be derived from food that support everything from our immune system to hormone health and our brain health. And then the fifth category or pillar of mental health, physical health, and performance is connection and relationships. And again, this includes both our relationship to others and our relationship to ourselves. Now, I should mention that none of the categories or pillars that I mentioned a moment ago are more or less important than the other. We really all need to strive to achieve all 5 of those every 24 hours. Now, keep in mind that real life will always intervene and prevent us from, for instance, getting a good night's sleep, or from getting the right amounts of macronutrients, or from getting exercise every once in a while. That is the reason why we should all strive to accomplish or check off all 5 of those pillars every 24 hours, because you can be sure that real life will intervene. And in general, we know that if you're achieving those 5 pillars approximately 80% of the time, meaning 80% of the days and nights of your life, but 20% of the time you're not able to, then that should be sufficient in order to maintain mental health, physical health, and performance. I mean, ideally, we're achieving those things 90 or 100% of the time, but it's simply not realistic to be able to do that. That's why we should all aspire to accomplish them 100% of the time, because you can be certain that real life will intervene. And therein lies a really important point, which is our ability to overcome and be resilient to things like a poor night's sleep or even 2 poor nights' sleep, or a lack of exercise, or not getting adequate sunlight, or too much bright artificial light in our eyes at night, or lack of social connection, hinges on how well or how regularly we tended to those 5 pillars of health in the days and weeks and years preceding those days when we can't get those 5 things in. Again, the key point here is that your biology, meaning your brain and your body, are very resilient, and so is your psychology, but they are only as resilient as you've been attentive to these things in the days and weeks preceding those days and nights when you simply can't get good night's sleep or one of the other 5 pillars. So the take-home message is that we should all know what these 5 pillars are, and that we should all strive to make it our focus within every 24 hours to accomplish these 5 pillars of mental health, physical health, and performance. Nobody is perfect. Everybody misses out on one or several of them every once in a while. However, by trying to attend to these 5 pillars of health every 24 hours, we know based on animal studies, human studies, and clinical trials in humans that mental health, physical health, and performance all thrive.